looking at the messages.
No. I'm not interested. With all due respect, I'm not interested in what people are phoning in and saying about this Ronaldo situation.
They're the lifeblood of it. James Harrison, United fan. Ronaldo's the past, Ten Hag's the future. Simple. No player's bigger than the club.
I'll come back to it in 5 years' time. No one will remember Ten Hag. In 55 years' time,
we'll all remember Ronaldo for the good he's done, now he's seriously blemished it.
Can I just throw this out? Who was the first person to call out Pogba as a pudding?
You.
Thank you. I'll rest my case.
When you called him a pudding, what else did you add to that? You quite simply weren't having him at all.
No, I can remember the first time I saw him. It was a semi-final of the Champions League. Juve versus Real Madrid in the Madrid stadium. I was doing it with Jamie Redknapp and Thierry, and Jamie was raving about this young midfield player that eventually wait till you see him, and I came away from that game thinking he's not for me, and
never has been.
I think I was proved right. In his time at Man United, he would have to be regarded as unmitigated failure.
What are you getting in Casemiro, Graeme?
You're getting a steady Eddie. He plays where I used to play, and obviously I'm going to talk up that position. I think there's a lot of work that maybe the untrained eye doesn't see, filling spaces, preventing passes into his two central defenders behind him. But I don't think he was playing with great players. He's not a great player. He's never been a great player. I see him as being a steady Eddie who will help United be more solid in the midfield. I don't think he's got any great range of passing. I don't think he's going to make other people play. The Real Madrid team, that midfield especially, that was full of footballing types. I see him as being a steady Eddie, and that's a
steady Eddie. 70 million plus for a steady Eddie.
Well, I come back. He's 30 years old, and it's 70 million. If it's 60 with add-ons going to 70, it's too much money. It's Man United all over again. Man United will pay a premium for players because it's Man United and it's the Premier League and people know it's a wash with money. But I don't see him making them any better when they have the ball.
I mean, he's got great, as you just said it there, with Brazil, 5 Champions League wins.
Right.
5 trophy wins. 3 La Ligas.
Yes.
How many caps for Brazil? 63 caps for Brazil.
If you had been talking to me...
Surely that's better than a steady Eddie.
That's how I see him. I mean, I played in that position. I think he was lucky to be in that Real Madrid team. I never looked forward to watching Casemiro play. It wasn't, Benzema, yeah, definitely. The other midfield players, yeah, definitely. I never thought, I'm really excited to watch Casemiro play today.
Would you have had no problem playing against him?
Yeah, I would have enjoyed that. But I tell you the one, okay, I don't want to mention him, but he plays in Fernandinho, the one that was at Man City. Now you're talking about another level completely for a holding midfield player. He, for a good 3-4 years, was the best in the world in that position. That's someone I enjoyed watching playing. I can't, there's nothing about Casemiro I can think in my memory bank and go, I remember him doing that or this. I see him as a steady Eddie.
So you don't think you'll sort of see him improve United?
I think he'll make them a bit more solid when they don't have the ball because he senses danger and he's obviously experienced in that position. When he has the ball, I don't think he's got a terrific range of passing. I've not seen that. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I've not seen him ping it all over the place. You try to put words into people's mouth. What I said, he's a steady Eddie.
I talk over them.
I say he's a steady Eddie. Unbecoming. It's not terribly attractive, but anyway, I'm sure we'll reach that point.
So Casemiro is now your argument that United will sign better players.
I'm going back to the football decisions they made.
Casemiro's never been a great player.
But I don't see him as a great player. I don't see someone's going to
get just named him as a standout.
Well, you just listen to what I try and understand. I mean, when I woke up this morning, I think I was still speaking English. So please...
your version of it.
Please try and understand what I'm saying. You're accusing me of calling him a steady Eddie. I stand by that. He's a good steady Eddie. He will hold the fort.
Right.
That's what a steady Eddie is. Right. He's a good player.
But the case
not a great player.
Not an average steady Eddie.
A steady Eddie's a good player. A steady Eddie's a 7.5, 7 out of 10 every week.
The case you're making...
No, when you spoke to us about Casemiro, sorry Simon, that day you said he's a steady Eddie, with the inference being He's kind of no more than that.
With your inference, that's how you take it. Steady Eddie, in my language, means he's a 7.5 every week. He is a real team player.
It struck me when Casemiro came in, you were a little bit disdainful of it. You weren't that particularly engaged by it.
No, that's your interpretation.
No, because I sit across the table watching you, and I picked up on the body language, and I picked up the disdain.
That is your interpretation.
And what your underlying observation is that somehow or another, that all of this transfer activity during the period of Louis van Gaal, David Moyes, Jose Mourinho and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was all done by the village idiots in the boardroom and nothing to do with your brethren being the managers.
I think Ronaldo was promised stuff by the manager and the manager is not committed to that. And I look back in the last few weeks of what's happened where he's asked after the City and why did you not put Ronaldo on out of respect for Ronaldo? He didn't put him on. Now a couple of weeks later, with 2 minutes to go when they're 2-0 up against the Spurs, he refuses to go on. What do you want from Ronaldo in 2 minutes when they're 2-0 up? I just think he's messed them around. And I believe, and again I'll have to say this is only my opinion. No one has told me anything, but as a manager who managed for 20 years, I'm looking at the situation. I think it has to be that the manager is not gone through with the promises he made when they met. I think with Conte, he pushes players almost to the point where he's going to fall out with them. And I think that's what, in my opinion, again, that's what I think you have to do with players. And I think they've made some really good signings. And, I was a Man United supporter phoned in earlier when he was on about, Conte didn't fit their profile because he would have been too confrontational and too demanding. Well, he's ended up at Spurs where Daniel Levy, from the outside looking in, wants to control every single thing in terms of who comes and who goes and how much they pay for people. Well, I think there has to have been a sea change there. I think for Conte to have gone there in the first place, I think there was a conversation took place where I have to have a say in what's coming in here. And I think already you're seeing the benefits of that. They've signed some really good players. And I see onwards and upwards for Spurs. And I'm happy about that because that was my first thought. I went there when I was 15 years old. Yeah. And it's one of those results I still look for. And you go to that stadium now, I can't tell you a better stadium, never mind football stadium, anywhere in the world than the Tottenham one. I believe Daniel Levy has had too big a say in who arrived at that football club. And that's why, 20 years later, 2 League Cups. For Spurs,
only one actually.
Yeah,
now you think it all changes with Conte's arrival because of the man Conte is.
I think Conte left Chelsea because he put it down. He wanted a say in who comes to the club. Jack Grealish is a good footballer. For me, he's not a great player. He's a good player who has got a big move and has yet to do it at Man City for me. I mean, I go back to his days at Aston Villa where I think they were in the Premier League for 2 years, and for both years he was the most foul player in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now, I see that 2 ways. I see it that you're having too many touches if you're the most foul player, and the reason you're having too many touches is because you're not seeing the picture quick enough. And I understand why people think he's better than what he actually is, because he runs with the ball, he gets you on the edge of your seat. But he doesn't deliver enough. He doesn't see the right picture, and he doesn't deliver it quick enough.
So he's got to do it on the field as well as off it.
Yeah, I think if he was being a star every weekend, we would not be having this conversation or this type of conversation about him. But I see. I was willing to cut him some slack because there is genuine sort of ball playing, dribbling talent there. I look back at my own career and I think, how did I improve? There was never a watershed moment where someone sat me down and said, if you start to do this or you start to do that, you'll go up to the next level. I improved because I went at the age of 23, 24 to the best club in the world at the time, Liverpool, who had some of the best players in Europe at the time. And every single day I was being asked to think quicker and move the ball quicker and just generally everything at a faster tempo than I'd been used to. And fortunately, I was able to grasp that quite early on and stayed with me. Now, I thought that would happen to Jack. He'll go to City every day in training. He'll be asked to do it quicker. He'll be asked to, deliver on what he sees quicker. And it's not happened for him. I see the same Jack Grealish today as I saw at Aston Villa a couple of years ago. For having someone with that stature, with that attitude to our game, you've got to have him there. I come back to what we said earlier. I think the conversation should have been, look, I'm an enormous fan. I want you at the club. I love you. I love everything about you. Make him feel wanted. I'm putting myself in his shoes. If I hear that the manager is trying to sell me halfway through last year. I have got the raging hump with the whole football club.
Is it true, Graeme, you threw Bellamy out of Newcastle when he didn't do what you wanted him to do? There was probably more to it, but is that the case? Did you kick him out?
He refused to play when he was fit. He was a pain in the ass for most of the time I had him at Newcastle. We have talked subsequently. He realises he was that, and he was a young man who forever talked about going to the next level, always wanted to improve. In that respect, he was a genuine, real deal player. He wanted to improve. He wanted to win things.
Did you kick him out?
I didn't kick him out. I didn't pick him out. He chose not to play one day. I went, took him to the chairman immediately, and I said, look, we've got a player who says he's not willing to play and he's fit. And I asked him to repeat that in front of Freddie Shepherd, and he did so. And it was a joint decision from the board and me that he should leave the football club.
Right, so you were involved in that decision.
I was involved in that.
That he should. So you were part of his exit.
Yeah, I was part of lots of players' exits. I was at Liverpool. And I'd been out with an injury for 10 weeks. Bob Paisley had been out for the same 10 weeks with pleurisy. So I declared myself fit on the Thursday. I think we were playing Wolves at home. Joe Fagan said, I said to him, look, I'm fit. I don't expect to come straight back in the team. They'd won 10 straight games without me. So I said, look, I don't expect to come straight back in. But he said, oh no, when you're fit, you'll be playing. Given it's Wolves at home, don't play this weekend, but we've got Tottenham on Tuesday. So I said, okay. So on the Monday, we're travelling down. All the guys are asking me, are you going to play? I said, he's told me I'm playing, yeah. We train on the Tuesday morning. I'm in the room with Kenny Dalglish, get a knock on the door, and I don't know, a sixth sense told me, I bet this is Joe going to say he's not going to play me. I just maybe picked up something in the train. So it was him, and he said, look, we've changed our mind, we can't change the team. So I didn't let him into the room. I said, well, you know what you can do, your team, you can stick your team where the sun doesn't shine, not those words. I wrote out a transfer request, and I can tell you what I wrote there and then. Due to circumstances, I feel it necessary to ask for a request of transfer. Please treat this as a formal request, and please treat it immediately. I go downstairs, I'm sitting in the bar. It was a coincidence that the manager had declared himself fit from pleurisy at the same time. So he hadn't travelled with us. So he was coming down with his mate. And I'm sitting in the bar, I'm on my second gin and tonic at this time. And he walks in, he glances over, and he sees me, and he comes over. And he said, what's going on? I said, well, you need to ask your mate in there. He's told me I'm not playing, and he told me on Thursday I was going to play, or told me Friday I was going to play. We'll see about that. So he went into the dining room where the players were, having their lunch, pre-match. Came back out, 5 minutes, you're playing. I said, boss, this is my second gin and tonic. How about if I'm just sub? So the point I'm making is, if someone makes a promise to you, and if you're a big player, someone makes a promise to you, they have to stick to that. And I believe this time round that the player's in the right. I go back to the circumstances. Did you ever go back in any promise you made when you were a manager? Yeah, I'm sure I did. Well then, there you go. I wasn't dealing, it was different circumstances. I'm thinking one in particular, but it was circumstances that just I was forced to make a change of mind. But I think with him, he has been told a story and the manager's not kept it. Then you look post what's happened after this so-called agreement, that he doesn't bring him on against City. And the manager's asked, out of respect. A couple of weeks later, he's wanting him to go on with 2 minutes to go against Tottenham when the game's won. What can Ronaldo do there? And then he makes him captain. And for me, looking at it from the outside, from both sides, I've been a player, I've been a manager, I think the player has a grievance, and I think he's entitled to air his grievance.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.